right, it has been a whirlwind year in the music industry, from record breakers and risk takers to flops and frustrations. We thought we'd tie a nice bow on 2024 with a look back at music's biggest moments.
Here to walk us through the year's high notes and low notes, see what we did there, is music journalist Emilie Hanskamp. Emilie,
So 2024 was a fantastic year for female artists. So let's go over the high notes. Who had a great year?
Yes, if I had to have one music headline for the year, it would be the year of women in pop. But I do not want to talk about the old guard, the people we've known well. I want to talk about the artists who have come through and broken through, who've been working in the industry for years. We're talking Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
Sabrina Carpenter, so she opened for the Eras Tour last year. She had the Song of the Summer with Espresso, and she broke through this year with her 5th studio album. So that's lovely to see. Then we've got Chapel Roan.
Yeah.
People might be watching being like, she came out of nowhere and became the biggest pop star in the world. No, she's been at this for a decade. Now she's playing some of the biggest festival audiences they've ever seen. She had one of the biggest songs of the year. She's had a blockbuster year. And finally, we've got Charli XCX, someone who previously, you would have preferred her as a cult favorite, right? Like, she was on the fringe. Charli, but now we've got Brad Summer. Kamala Harris was even getting in on it. She had one of the biggest monoculture moments of the year. We haven't seen one like it since. So it was really a year of you work hard, it pays off. Women in pop are this new vanguard. It's super, super exciting.
Very quickly, who's your favorite out of all those?
Charli.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Wanted to know.
Okay, those are the high notes. What about the low notes?
So the low notes, that's the new guard, the exciting new guard. The low notes are in the, the old guard. So, J-Lo had a flop this year. I'm sorry, Mel.
Oh,
I'm so
I know.
sorry. But also, I think the biggest flop that we've seen in recent memory in pop was Katy Perry, right?
Wow.
So she tried to make a comeback this year. She had Woman's World, that pseudo-feminist, ad-lib song that was so terrible.
I forgot.
Yeah, she had a music video that was under investigation for filming in a wildlife preservation area, very bad press. And then she finally drops a comeback album, terribly panned, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't to jump on Katy Perry, but it's to say in this conversation, this trend we're seeing this year is the new vanguard of pop. They are forging new paths, and if you can't keep up, you'll be left behind.
Wow. Okay, let's move on from pop music, because 2024 has also been a major year for country music.
Yeah, so in the past couple years, we've really seen this country boom, right? People like Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, and Zach Bryan, they've really been at the forefront of this boom, and that's continued into this year. The first week of December 2024, 34 of the top 200 best-selling albums of the year were country.
Wow!
That's a lot because it's a 30% uptick from last year and a 78% uptick from 2022. Huge.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about who's in this country conversation. So you had some crossovers from Post Malone with F1 Trillion, but the biggest crossover of the year, of course, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. So this was one of the biggest music moments of the year. She got nods, of course, from Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton, but also featured many black country artists on her album, including a certain Shaboozey that we now know. And what I want to point out is that Beyonce's Texas Hold'em, she was the first black woman to ever top chart in the hot country charts. And then she was knocked off by Shaboozey, becoming the first time in the hot country charts history that two black artists consecutively held that #1 spot.
Cool.
Wow.
So, and she had it on her country album.
Exactly.
Which was fantastic.
Exactly.
Well, those were great highs in country music, but there also were some lows. Let's discuss that.
I'm sure you're anticipating. We're teasing that thread a little more, Andrea, because the lows were there was a lot of resistance in the country world to this.
A little.
A lot of resistance.
Yeah.
Cowboy Carter got 0 CMA nominations. There were country stations who were publicly saying they will not play Beyonce because it is not country music.
Yeah.
This is a tension that's been in country industry for a long time. It wasn't until 2000 that the Country Music Hall of Fame had a black artist inducted, and today there are only 3 black artists inducted. So this is an ongoing conversation, an ongoing low point in the industry. It's an extremely exclusive and resistant industry to the inclusivity.
I know. And the fact that the black people kind of started country music, that's a whole other discussion.
The imprint is undeniable, right? Yeah.
It's true. Okay, so let's talk about a major music moment this year, and that was the beef between Kendrick Lamar and our boy Drake. And a lot of people might say, you know what? There was nothing positive about 2 grown men fighting publicly that way. But you say that there are high notes here for
On
you.
this side of the couch, we're here for it. No,
Yes.
beefs can be great for music, especially in hip hop and rap. It can push artists to the peak of their potential, and that's what we saw here. Not to mention the financial benefits. Just the diss tracks in this beef alone generated $15.4 million, $7.6 million of which was just from Kendrick's Not Like Us. And so if we are teasing out the winners and losers, cultural consensus is definitely, yeah, Kendrick came out on top here. He's got that Super Bowl placement coming up. He dropped that surprise album GNX that topped a lot of year-end lists. It's incredible. Kendrick is laughing his way out of 2024.
So if Kendrick is the high note here, does it follow that Drake is the low note here?
Well, Drake, you know, he's going to be licking his wounds a little bit. He just has to, let's say he has to rebrand. He's got to rebrand. You know, it's not looking great for him this year. It was a tough year under the chin for him. But I think low notes to also highlight here is, I love a beef when it's healthy, but they also went very under the belt for each other's partners, kids, livelihoods. And I think that in the beef conversation we're having, that was a low point all around.
Yeah.
How do you think that whole lawsuit's going to play out?
Oh, TBD, but I don't think it was a good decision.
We'll just leave that there. All right, perhaps one of the biggest stories in music was the arrest of P. Diddy. A lot of people saw this coming, but what's your take on this? Because this is going to play out more in 2025 as well.
Absolutely. So the low points are obvious here, but I just want to say that we know for a fact, absolutely, that Diddy did physically assault Cassie. It was released to the public. That video surveillance footage, we know at the very least that happened. But if even a portion of these lawsuits turn out to be accurate, what it signifies is not only the guilt and what these victims experienced, it signifies a large web, what the prosecutors call a criminal enterprise, and then come the questions of who else is involved, how was this enabled by so many people, and those are going to be questions we'll be answering into 2025 for
That's going to be huge. I think the trial's May 2025. This is a tragic story all around. Is there any way that we can pull out any kind of hope or optimism from such tragic stories?
Well, in the music industry, we're hoping this might be the first domino in terms of the music industry finally getting its Me Too reckoning, because it hasn't like politics, it hasn't like Hollywood, so maybe it does take someone as high profile as Diddy to be held under the limelight like this, and then, you know, hopefully we can see other people take accountability as well. This also has resulted, though, in people trying to implicate people that have not yet been officially named. So let's just be very careful in terms of who was at those parties and what they were doing. We do not know that yet, but answers will come.
Okay, Emily, there's no way we can do a music roundup without talking about Taylor Swift and her Eras tour. So in 149 shows, she broke just about every record you could break. So what are the high points that resonate most with you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on this couch before talking about the Swiftonomics. You know, this was the first tour to ever break, to gross more than $2 billion. That is just hard to even wrap around here. But instead of getting in my finances, I do want to get in my feels here, because I think what is special looking back at this year and this massive moment for the culture is she is really the last remnant of the monoculture that we have. This was an international year-and-a-half-long moment where the world could rally around, whether or not you wanted to, this really special moment. Businesses, communities, microeconomies forming. If you're rolling your eyes at home and you're sick of this, I get it. But a lot of us didn't have the chance to experience, you know, Michael Jackson, the Beatles. This is as close as we'll come in terms of scope, and it was a special moment that we won't get again. We're never going to.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
Very nicely said.
Oh, this is cute.
I appreciate
and
that.
I'll say one more thing. The fact that the fans are women and girls was a huge high point for me, because it shows that women and girls have such power to dictate and navigate and direct the cultural market.
You have the power. All right. So what were the low notes for the Eras tour then?
Yeah, I mean, one low note, I'm worried in terms of fan expectations that people are going to expect this going forward. We're never going to see that again. Taylor can't even replicate this again. So let's all just get our expectations in line. But I think it was really the ticket master of it all and how hard it was to get these tickets. I think this exposed how exclusive the live music industry has become, that we will go to extreme lengths to get there, and that, unfortunately, with the trends that we're forecasting next year, it's going to stay that way, and so that's something we're going to all have to deal with as live concert fans for the time to come.
Emily, this was extraordinary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for doing this music roundup with us.
Great.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.